bring in Sarah Sanders. She's a Fox News contributor. You remember when she was at the podium at the White House, and she joins us right now live from Little Rock. Sarah, good morning to you.
Good morning.
Good morning. Great to be with you guys.
You know, in the last week, I think the country of Iran realized after they killed that American, there's a new sheriff in town, right?
Absolutely. I mean, I think it's been abundantly clear that they're not working with the same America that they used to. Under the Obama administration, they projected weakness. President Trump does everything complete opposite of that and is finally projecting strength and is letting them know that they will not be pushed around. There is a red line, and if they cross it, he will respond. That's frankly the only thing that Iran is ever going to understand. The only thing that is going to deter them is strength. We have a very clear choice in front of us. We can either go down the path of appeasement that we saw under the Obama administration, or we can go down a path of strength where the president has taken us so far that is clearly a much better posture for our country.
Sarah,
go ahead.
Sarah, the president said yesterday the U.S. is ready to embrace peace. He's calling for more economic sanctions on Iran's already struggling economy. He did say that Iran is standing down. So why is the House putting up this resolution to try to limit the president's powers?
You know, I can't think of anything dumber than allowing Congress to take over our foreign policy. They can't seem to manage to get much of anything done. I think the last thing we want to do is push powers into Congress's hands and take them away from the president. Any Democrat that doesn't understand that America is safer now that one of the most dangerous terrorists in the world is rotting in hell is completely naive and completely misses what we need to have in a foreign policy. And the last thing I want to do is see them take power away from President Trump and put it into their own hands. I don't think anything could be worse for America than that.
So a couple of things. The New York Times writes today, the speech the president gave yesterday was in many ways the sound of a muddled policy. It showed that the 3 years in office, Mr. Trump has yet to resolve his two conflicting instincts, national security and emerged in his speeches. One is bellicosity and one is disengagement. Do you see a muddled policy where he looked the other way on the drone attack, the Saudi attack, the tanker attack, but didn't look the other way after the embassy attack?
And the guy died.
Not at all. I see a president who is leading this country and is no longer focused on making sure we maintain a relationship with the radicals in Iran, but instead making sure he's doing everything he can to protect American citizens. This is a president who is time and time again demonstrated that strength is the only way to deter a country like Iran. I'm proud of the president and the actions that he's taken, and I think he's got a great team around him, and they're doing an excellent job. And I don't think we could have anybody better in that position.
What did you think about his speech yesterday when he comes right out of the gate and he says, I promise you, as long as I am president, Iran will not have nuclear capabilities? And then he said, and good morning. He came right out of the gate.
That's the headline.
Yeah.
I heard he took the speech back and added that.
I think it's classic Trump. Look, he wants to make sure that the big takeaway here is that America will not be pushed around as long as he is president, that he will make sure that Iran does not have a nuclear weapon. At the same time, he's always going to have a hospitable and a great nature about him, but he wanted to make sure that the big takeaway was the first thing that people heard, and I think it was a strong and good message, and one that all Americans can rest easy, is that we have a president who's committed to the safety and security of this country, right, and is not focused on appeasing the radicals in Iran, which is so incredibly important.
You know, a number of people came out and said after the hit on Soleimani and then the muted response from Iran, that is a win for the president. That is the last thing the Democrats want to see in this 2020. And now we know that Nancy Pelosi, clearly, despite the fact, Sarah, that she said we've got to pass these articles of impeachment because it is urgent to stop this guy. Maybe it wasn't so urgent because she's still sitting on him. And now there are a number of Democrats who will put their pictures up, including Dianne Feinstein, who's from Pelosi's home state of California. They're saying, you know what, it's time. We don't get what the delay is. Why don't we just go ahead and shoot it on over, have a courier take it over to the Senate. Let's get this thing over with.
Absolutely. If anybody has any type of muddled policy, it's the Democrats. They seem completely lost because they don't know how to beat this president. He continues to win on every front, and they simply don't know what to do with that. I think that the idea that all of a sudden it's no longer urgent for us to force this impeachment sham down America's throat the way that the House Democrats have done shows exactly what it was all along. It was a political, partisan process that was nothing more than a means to attack the president. I think the American people saw through it. That's why there's no support for it, and that's why you continue to see people say, let's just get this over with so we can get back to the business of the day. I look forward to watching the president give his State of the Union after he's been fully vindicated by the Senate right there in front of Nancy Pelosi. I think it's going to be an incredible moment, and one I think we can all look forward to watching.
And Sarah, it looks like, when the New York Times says the president's foreign policy on Iran is muddled, it looks like the vice president who joined us 30 minutes ago said, it's muddled? This whole impeachment push. He does not get the delay. Listen.
It really is remarkable when, I don't know how many times we heard the word urgent from the Democrat leadership in the House as they rammed through their sham investigation where the White House wasn't allowed to have counsel present, wasn't allowed to call witnesses. Then they passed a partisan impeachment vote out of the House of Representatives, and Speaker Nancy Pelosi has been sitting on it for a month. So where's the urgency now?
And he ended like this, but he went on. The urgency is a problem that even Democrats are having problems with. How does this game plan this? Tell me what happens next. How does this play out?
Well, I think the vice president's exactly right. That's what I was just saying is we saw what a sham this whole thing has been. Pelosi is completely beholden to the far left of her party. We saw that play out. They know it was a bad move, but she has no control over the party anymore. You've got the squad and all of that group pushing for these absolutely insane ideas and policies. And I think impeachment hopefully is a lesson that they've learned. But I think what we can expect to see is the president go to the Senate, be completely and fully vindicated, and stand in front of Nancy Pelosi and all of the rest of America and the world and claim victory on that and all of the other great successes of this administration when he gives his State of the Union here in a few weeks.
Yeah, we know that Nancy Pelosi is doing it because she's Speaker and she can, but she's got a bunch of vulnerable Democrats in swing states, in purple districts, who, a lot of Republicans, Sarah, are suggesting they could pay the price this November.
I certainly hope so, and I think the American people are much smarter than Democrats give them credit for, and I think we're going to see that play out in November. I think the president's going to come to a landslide victory, as well as a lot of House Republicans take new seats, hold the majority, and maybe even pick up seats in the Senate. But I think the more that the Democrats continue on the path of destruction that they're on, I think only helps Republicans in the fall.
Hey, Sarah, I know you've enjoyed having a breather probably and enjoyed your holidays without all the stress of Washington. Have you decided if you're going to run for office?
No decisions yet.
When do you have
right
to
now, my
decide?
My only focus right now is on 2020. Any election here in Arkansas would be in 2022, so we've got a lot of time, but looking forward to helping make sure we get the president and other Republicans elected here in a few months.
Okay, good deal. Thank you so much, Sarah. Great to see you.
Thank you. Always good to be with you guys.